Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. This is a course on Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que, and we're going to discuss many questions like what is Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que, what is the importance of Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que to all of us, Gaudiya Vaishnavisa, and also what is the central message of 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que, and what is the core understanding of each verse of Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que. But today I am going to just talk on this topic, what is Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que. Okay, well, if you want to understand what is Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que, there are many perspectives. What is Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que structurally to all of us? What is the structure? Structurally, if you talk, Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹que is set of 8 verses. That means this song, this ashtak, this poem or this composition has 8 verses. Now you can see these 8 verses on the screen. Most of you devotees know what is this. This is, it begins with Chetodarpana Marjanam, that's the first verse. Second verse, Namna Makari Bahudanicha Sarva Shaktes. Third is Trinadapi Sunichena. Fourth is Nadhanam Najanam Na Sundarim. And it goes on Ainandatanuja Kinkaram. Then sixth, Nainam Galada Shrudhara. Seventh, Yugaitam Nimishena. Eighth is Ashli Shava Padratam Pinastumam. And if you want to know what are these verses, either you can buy a copy of Chaitanya 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗪. If you have, open Ante Leela, the last chapter, chapter 20, and it will give you Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪, because that's the chapter where Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪 is discussed in details. Or if you don't have Chaitanya 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗪, go to Google, type Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪, and there you'll easily get Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪. Okay, now what is Ashtakam? Ashtakam means 8. Now there are many compositions. Philosophers and poets used to compose their works either in 8 verses, which is Ashtakam, or Dashakam, set of 10 verses, Dwadashakam, set of 12 verses, Panchakam, set of 5 verses, like this. And then there is something called a Chamakam. That's interesting, but anyway, this is Ashtakam, and Chaitanya is Lord Chaitanya. Ashtakam, which is spoken by Lord Chaitanya. So this is Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪. This is structurally, this is Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪. What is historically Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪? In other words, how do we get Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪 from Lord Chaitanya to us? How did it come to us? How did this Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪 come from Lord Chaitanya to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and who is he? So Lord Chaitanya, as we know, he is incarnation of Sri Krishna himself, according to Gaudiya Vaishnavas. And he, when he was residing in Puri as a sannyasi, he spoke these verses in his madness. So he didn't sit and write them. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote one book on Nyaya when he was back in Navadip, but he threw that in Ganges just to please one of his devotee, one of his friends, classmates, because he wrote another book on Nyaya, and his book excelled his book at, I mean to say, from all angles. So he said, okay, I'll throw this book. If you are unhappy, I'll throw this book. So he didn't write anything, he just spoke them. His secretary, Sarup Damodar, he recorded these 8 verses in his book, which was called as Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪. 𝗙cie in Bengali means, 𝗙cie is Bengali, in English it means notes. And after Mahaprabhu and Sarup Damodar left this world, they disappeared. Sarup Damodar's disciple, Raghunath Das Goswami, who was also staying in Puri, he got these notes from him. Raghunath Das Goswami, after Mahaprabhu and Sarup Damodar left, he went to Vrindavan and he handed over these notes to Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, his disciple, residing at Radha Kund. And then Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami composed a book, Chaitanya 𝗙𝗹𝗹𝗪, which was giving a philosophical perspective, which focused on philosophical perspective of Lord Chaitanya, philosophical understanding of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and at the end, at the climax, he put this Chaitanya 𝗙cie𝗹𝗹𝗪 as a summary of his teachings. So that's Ante Leela, chapter 20. So that's historically. Okay, so now what is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam? Let's say philosophically. Philosophically, what is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam? How do we look at this composition of 8 verses? But philosophically, if we want to look, the job of philosophy is to look within, not just the structure. Structurally, these are 8 verses, but philosophically, it's by the eyes of knowledge. If you see, these are not 8 verses, these are not letters, these are not words, these are not verses. This is directly a literal incarnation of love of God, of Lord Chaitanya. The love of God, the love of Krishna, which Lord Chaitanya had in his heart, it poured out and took the form of these 8 verses. So this is love in form of 8 verses. Or in other words, this 8 verses carry Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's emotions. If you read Ante Leela, there it says, Krishna's Karo Swami, right in the first verse he says, Prem Udbhavita Bhavam Harsha Irshaya Udvega Denne Arti Mishritam. Mahaprabhu had a lot of emotions for God, and all those emotions he invested it into these 8 verses. These 8 verses are incarnation of his emotions, and if you read Ante Leela commentary, you will realize how these 8 verses are helping you to enter the emotions of Lord Chaitanya, enter the emotions of love of God. So these 8 verses carry emotions of Lord Chaitanya, not just emotions, but they also carry the understanding of Lord Chaitanya, of devotion. And that's why these 8 verses set forth a philosophy of Lord Chaitanya, the philosophical understanding. Philosophy of Lord Chaitanya is known as Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy or Achinte Bheda Bhedat. It's the same thing. So if you want to know Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy, if you want to know philosophy of Lord Chaitanya, if you want to know Achinte Bheda Bhedat, what do you want to read? Simply read Chaitanya Shikshashtakam and you will understand what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had to say his entire life, what message he had to pass to people his entire life. This is what he got to say. So that is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam philosophically. And what is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam functionally? In other words, what is the function of Chaitanya Shikshashtakam? What does it do? What do we benefit? What's the importance of it to all of us? Now, what's the importance of Chaitanya Shikshashtakam? We'll talk later in the next lecture or later lectures. But here in brief I'll tell, the function of Chaitanya Shikshashtakam are three functions. First, it helps us to relish the devotional, the ocean of devotion. Mahaprabhu himself, he just didn't speak these verses. He commented on them. He also relished them. And after he relished his own compositions, he started relishing the compositions of other authors like Bilmangla and Jaydev Goswami, Chandidas. So this Chaitanya Shikshashtakam helps us to relish the signs of devotional service. And not only that, it also gives us adhikar, the eligibility to relish the ocean of mellows of devotional service. It gives us the adhikar. Adhikar means eligibility. And not only that, the third thing is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam gives us the mood of chanting the holy names of the Lord. We are going to discuss all these things in details in the later lectures. But this is a function. This is functionally Chaitanya Shikshashtakam gives us 3 things. The first is relish, second is adhikar, eligibility, and third is mood. This is what is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam functionally. So this is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam structurally, historically, philosophically, and functionally. Now, if I want to summarize Chaitanya Shikshashtakam in one line, Chaitanya Shikshashtakam, just as Srimad Bhagavatam is literally incarnation of Krishna, similarly, literally incarnation of Lord Chaitanya is Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. Or in other words, just like Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, read my works. We can, similarly in the same lines, we can say, if you want to know Lord Chaitanya, read Chaitanya Shikshashtakam. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.